Now, our breakfast speaker this morning is Greg Wrightstone, and Greg Wrightstone has written a book called Inconvenient Facts, the Science Al Gore Doesn't Want You to Know. Now, in this book, he proposes doing away with all air transportation, rebuilding all buildings in the country to make them green, and eliminating cow fat. Oh, wait a minute. Scratch that. That's somebody else. Actually, Greg had the opportunity to appear before a House committee. Daryl Metcalf, who's going to be on our next panel, invited him here to Harrisburg to come and talk to his committee. And Greg, being a geologist, did something that drives the left absolutely crazy. He came armed with facts. And he separated fact from fiction. This did, as you can imagine, not go over well with the left or the mainstream media. But Greg has written this book. It's become a bestseller in a number of categories. He even has an app, which of course you can't get, and he'll explain why, because this is an example of left-wing censorship. So without further ado, I would like to ask Greg Wrightstone to come up to the podium. And there he is. Ladies and gentlemen, author Greg Wrightstone. Greg.
Yeah, thank you so much. Loman asked me to speak for 10 minutes, and I might go a little bit more than that, but not by much. I have 20 now. Okay, all right, now you tell me. So we'll have to stretch it out a little bit. Before I get in, first thing he wanted me to talk about was how climate change directly affects the citizens of the Commonwealth. We've got a couple really important issues before the Commonwealth right now that will negatively impact all of us. And impact the economy of the Commonwealth significantly and to the worse, not the better. We'll get into that first, but first I want to take a little victory lap just to tell you about what's going on here. I spoke here last year to the Pennsylvania Leadership Conference. It was shortly after the publication of my book, and I've got so many of you out there that have bought the book, have supported me. You've got the app. If you got it before Apple took it down, we'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. But PLC and the attendees have been so supportive of me and my app and the book and my message, and I want to thank you all that have been there. I know we've got many people out there. I can see 10 people that have actually bought 20 or more copies of the book to pass out to people. And just to let you know, we're actually considering turning this book into a textbook for homeschoolers, and I'd like to get, if you have some thoughts about that. I was just on the Blaze TV Thursday morning, and the host there said, I homeschool my children and I use your book as my textbook for the subject because it's so full of facts and information. So I'm empowered by that. We need to get this information out there that's unbiased, unvarnished, not tainted by this climate alarmism, but rather just talk about the science, the facts, and the data. So we published it over a year ago. Recently, we've had some important things going on. We rolled out a smartphone app for the phone. Apple approved it February 1st. We had it up for sale for 30 days, but first, February 14th, I went down to Dallas to the Mercury Studios, interviewed by Glenn Beck for half an hour. We launched the app on the Glenn Beck Show. We had 13,000 downloads in the next 10 days. We got notified by Apple shortly after the Glenn Beck Show that we were unapproved for sales. It's not even just extremely rare. They just never take apps down off that have been approved. If they took InfoWars, Alex Jones down. I don't agree with that. I think that everybody should have a mouthpiece, but I'm no Alex Jones. I'm providing science, facts, and data about important subject. They've taken things down for pornography, hoaxes, fake sales. And only recently have we found some other conservative apps that have been taken down off the App Store. Now, bear in mind, if you have an iPhone, you can only buy an app for your iPhone. I've got my iPhone in my left-hand pocket here. So if you have an iPhone, you can only buy it in one place. It's not the App Store. So That's the only place. They have a monopoly on the iPhone and any apps that you have on that. They took it, they told us we were unapproved. We appealed it, and on February 28th, so again, this is all happening right now. This is 30 days ago. February 28th, they removed it from the App Store, took it down. They said that their decision was final, and there's no further appeals that could be done. The reasoning was they said that it lacked compelling content. Well, this thing, if you would go and look on the App Store and go here, pick up my iPhone, if you would Google climate change or global warming and see what kind of apps pass for approved content that's compelling. These things look like failed middle school science fair projects. I mean, poorly formatted, misspelling, no information. My app, as I pick up my Android, looks like the gold standard for climate change apps. Impactful. All 60 inconvenient facts in the book are here. I've created original videos that are actually pretty cool if you want to go and check it out. If you have an iPhone, too bad for you. If you have an Android, you can search for inconvenient facts and go get it. So this thing is, they said it lacked compelling content. The problem wasn't that it lacked compelling content. It was that the content was too compelling. And that we were seeing people taking this information, taking the facts, the science, behind the information that runs counter to the notion of catastrophic man-made warming. You have it in the palm of your hand. That way, if your idiot nephew that's majoring in sustainable development at Penn State out Palo Alto is at Easter dinner and he tells you polar bears are going extinct, you can go, oh, wait a minute, little Billy. Here's a chart of 60 years of polar bear population history. And he goes, oh, what's the source for that? And you can click on here. Oh, Susan Crockford, the preeminent polar bear expert in the world. Oh, well, that's the power it has. You can have this in the palm of your hands. And you can confront these people. And I've had so many people talk to me about how they've used the app in talking with people. And when I travel around the country, I'm in the airport talking to people about this. And I can pull this out. So in the 1930s, the fascists were burning books in the public square. What they've done to me and my app, is the 21st century digital version of those fascists burning in the public square. They're censoring science. They want to shut me up and people like me, anything that runs counter to catastrophic man-made warming. I just testified, like Lohman just talked about, last week, and thank you to Daryl Metcalf, where I know he's out in the audience here, for having me there, chairman of the House Energy Resources Environment Committee, for having me there. The Democrats in the room and some of the Republicans had never heard a rational, this was billed, bear in mind, prior to me getting up and speaking, this was billed as a science denier. It addresses the state government. I was called a science denier. I got up, it was the first time any of these people, I'm pretty sure, had ever heard a rational, science and fact-based presentation of why the warming, and we're in a warming trend, it's been warming for 300 years, why this is primarily naturally driven and why it's not catastrophic. And if you don't know what I say about this, my big contention is that rising temperatures and increasing CO2 are benefiting the Earth and humanity, and it ain't close. We're seeing just tremendous increases right and left, food production, declines in forest fires, contrary to what you might hear. So this is, it's been, when Apple took this down, it was the best thing to happen to the sales of the book. It blew up. It just exploded. We were the #1 story on Drudge for a day and a half. It was picked up by the Daily Signal, Heritage's Daily Signal, as one of their top stories there. Laura Ingraham had me on her show 2 weeks ago in the Ingraham Angle on One American News. And so thank you, Tim Cook and Apple, a little bit. I want to still get the app up there, but this book, it's published more than a year ago. Sales are skyrocketing. It's exploding. We were the #1 best-selling book in 5 categories on Amazon as recently as 2 weeks ago. We're still up 3 or 4. It's incredible, incredible. No, I've spent $0 advertising dollars. It's all word of mouth. It's people saying, wow, you got to go get this book. And it's a lot of the people in this room that are big supporters. I want to thank you all. So this has been tremendous. It builds me up to think we can do something like this, but it's a tribute to the many of the people in this room. And I will say my primary editor, Gordon Tom, is here, and he made the book really a very readable, gifted writer, and a senior fellow at the Commonwealth Foundation. Well, let's talk about what's going on in Pennsylvania. Enough about me, my favorite subject. So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, thank you. Her Green New Deal has been sucking the air out of the room for a lot of the commentators and news and opinion analysts since they rolled it out in February. And the focus of the press has been on some of the craziest aspects of the Green New Deal, including transitioning completely away from fossil fuels and going to renewable energy by 2030. But the energy and environment aspects of the Green New Deal are really a small component of this, because it only, and I say it should be air hooks for only, is estimated to cost $6 to $8 trillion over the first 10 years. And the energy aspects are complete transformation to renewable energy, and that means no electricity from natural gas, coal, or oil. Upgrading of every existing building in the United States. That's right. Be ready to retrofit your home to make it worthy of Ocasio-Cortez's Green New Deal. And expanding high-speed rail to a scale that obviates air travel. What really has gone unreported are the social engineering aspects of this. And they're the really dangerous and costly portion of the Green New Deal. These are estimated to cost anywhere from $80 to $90 trillion over the first 10 years. You may not have heard this. This includes guaranteed jobs for all at a family-sustaining wage plus associated benefits, universal health care, guaranteed housing for all, and food security for every American, whatever that means. This isn't just an unworkable solution to solve a non-existent problem. It's Marxist ideology masquerading as environmental policy. They've rolled out every Marxist idea over the last 20 years to incorporate it into this Green New Deal. Fortunately for us, though, the Green New Deal is just a resolution. Even if it was voted on and approved, it would have no impact on us. But here in Pennsylvania, we don't have that option. We've got 2 proposals that we have that could significantly impact everybody in this room and all the citizens of Pennsylvania. The first proposal, and I talked to Daryl Metcalf a little bit about this and some others, and Frank Ryan here about this. The really troubling one is a petition for rulemaking that was filed in November of last year to the State Environmental Quality Board. It's to set up a comprehensive cap and trade program for the state. And according to the petition, Pennsylvania's environmental regulators will have legal authority and constitutional duty to place limits on greenhouse gas emissions. And this was a petition filed by the Philadelphia-based Clean Air Council and 61 other petitioners. They're calling on state regulators to establish a statewide cap and trade program and use California's system as a model. It's troubling in that we had 2 recent state Supreme Court decisions that have possibly strengthened their argument. And as we've seen in other rulings, our current justices seem to consider wording within our state's constitution as suggestions rather than strict guidelines. The overall effect of this would be to increase costs for all companies emitting CO2 and to make Pennsylvania less competitive, especially compared to adjoining states that won't have such actions. The second proposal is the Transportation and Climate Initiative. This is a multi-state collaboration. It's designed to achieve substantial reductions in transportation sector emissions. So this deals only with transportation, truck, cars. What they want you to do is go over to they want to go to cleaner transportation infrastructure. They want to Pennsylvania and 8 other northeastern states have this plan to cut greenhouse gas emissions from vehicles. And they stated part of what they have to do is use money, get this, use money from the new carbon market to invest in cleaner transportation infrastructure. Now, if you didn't catch that, let me repeat. And craft a plan to use money from the new carbon market to invest in fill in the blank. All right? What this is a money grab from all of us to fund more government. And what that's yet to be determined what exactly that's going to be. Pennsylvania Department of Transportation Secretary Leslie Richards said the agreement is a bold initiative to reduce carbon emissions from the transportation sector, which is the largest source of climate warming greenhouse gas in the region. Under the agreement, the Commonwealth would need to sort out how to lower tailpipe emissions and which fuels to cover and how to structure the market. But the focus will be on low carbon and transportation infrastructure such as public transit and zero emission vehicles. That's right. They want you all to convert to, it's really coal-fired cars, because that's what you're going to be. This is a coal-fired energy. If you're driving an electric car, you're driving a coal-fired car. It's really unworkable. We can't get to this non-fossil fuel dream that they have anytime soon. The proposal right now is before Governor Wolf, and he and the DEP have until November of this year to determine the specifics of the plan. So we're not clear about the details, but it's certain the taxes on diesel and gasoline would need to be increased, and whatever is enacted would make the Commonwealth less competitive compared to our neighboring states, such as Ohio and West Virginia, that would not have this. So this is what they're doing here is really an attempt to control the uncontrollable, which is to say the climate of the earth. The governor has apparently bought into this man-made climate apocalypse narrative, hook, line, and sinker. In response to a question, the governor had this to say: "We have a problem with climate change. That's a fact. We've seen that this past year. York County has had more rain. I've gone around the state. Bradford County, York County, Schuylkill County, all over the state, localized flooding. I've never seen this in my lifetime. We're having real problems." Well, I took a look at the NOAA data and information from the EPA on what's actually going on with the rain. It is true. The governor has a point. 2018 was a high precipitation event year. It actually broke records. But if we look at, again, we're confusing weather with climate. What you need to do is put this into the long-term perspective. And if we look at the long-term perspective, we see that really rain and precipitation in the state of Pennsylvania has not been increasing. In the 2018 appears to be an aberration. And I looked at the big rain events over the last 40 years and found they peaked in 1940s and 50s. In the committee hearing, I was asked, well, can you explain the difference between climate or weather and climate? And I said, well, if you're a climate alarmist, if it's March 4th and it's 90 degrees, that's climate. And if you're a climate alarmist and it's 6 degrees on March 4th, that's weather. So, because they always say, well, if it's 90 degrees, that's proof of global warming. But here the governor makes that mistake of conflating weather and short-term events with a long-term plan. These two proposals have negative ramifications for the citizens in the Commonwealth. And because of this, the governor and the legislature should make recommendations that are based on science and facts and not on politically driven and media-driven narrative of an Earth that's spiraling into man-made planetary doom. So I'm going to leave you with that. I see if you don't know and ever heard me talk, I see an Earth that's thriving and prospering. I see that rising temperatures and increasing CO2 are benefiting the earth and humanity, and it ain't close. It is, we're seeing just a prospering and thriving earth, and it's good for us and the planet. Thank you.